He's on the upper edge of that, so let's see what happens. We're going to track it as the numbers come in, but right now Newsies correspondents are all over Atlanta tonight covering the candidates, their supporters, and the officials who are counting these votes. Congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed is at the Warnock Watch Party. National correspondent Haley Bull is with the Walker campaign today. Let's start tonight, though, with Newsies correspondent Mara Sirianni, who spent the day at the Election Center, where these numbers actually are tabulated. Mara, Election Day, Part 2, it was just a 2-minute wait for voters is what I heard, because leading up to today, people were waiting so long. Today, 2 minutes?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. So in terms of a midterm runoff, when you talk about the story of the day, it really comes down to turnout. That is what everyone's talking about. And I think, like you just said, that wait time being an average of under 2 minutes statewide, it really is remarkable, because last week during early voting, you had some people kind of discouraged. They were waiting 60 to 90 minutes. Maybe those people didn't get to vote early, and so they came back today on Election Day to lock in their votes. I just spoke live here on the show with Secretary of State here in Georgia, Brad Raffensperger, last hour. He said that the numbers are, of course, still coming in, but they're saying that about 1.4 million Georgians actually voted today. Again, that is record breaking, and that is on top of the 1.9 million people who voted early. And so really, he only said just a few minor snags at polling locations across the state, a few issues with a few locations opening late, maybe a few poll workers showing up late, but overall, this was a really great day. And of course, now the story changes to actually tabulating those votes. I asked him for a prediction. He said we should have a pretty good idea by about 10 o'clock tonight. But again, like you said, it's really going to come down to how close this thing is. Back to you. Good idea, about 90 minutes from now. Okay, well, we'll be here either way. Haley, let's get out to you, because you're covering the Walker camp. You are not on the set of Sweeney Todd. It is very hazy out there, which I was not expecting when I got to Atlanta today. But it's really a nice day. People got out, they voted. And a lot of people who support Herschel Walker, they have thought, people look down their nose at us. They look down their nose at him. Who is enthusiastically in his camp and wants him to win?
Chance, these supporters for Walker have come out to support him at campaign events, even in this rainy, foggy Atlanta weather. And we've talked to a lot of them the past couple days, and they're largely people who support a conservative agenda. They like him as a person. Their values align with him on the issues. They like his stance on things like abortion. They are frustrated on issues with the economy, inflation, the border. But keep in mind, there were around 200,000 people who voted for Georgia's Republican Governor Brian Kemp, but did not vote for Herschel Walker, these split ticket voters. And that's key. We talked to one outside a polling location just a little bit ago before polls closed. Take a listen to his reasoning.
I voted for Kemp in the regular election, and University of Georgia graduate, huge Herschel Walker fan, but I just couldn't bring myself to voting for a senator. I don't think he would represent Georgia well as a senator.
At the same time, another interesting point supporters have made to us repeatedly is that voting for Herschel Walker is voting against Raphael Warnock. So at the same time, for some voters, it's about not wanting to see a Democrat in this Senate seat, Chance.
Nate, you're with Warnock. They want to see a Democrat in that seat where you are tonight. In a nutshell, what has his strategy been?
Well, his strategy has been trying to get out as much vote as possible. And look, he's somewhat predicted the numbers that we're seeing come in right now, according to the Associated Press, that he would start the night leading, given many of these early votes. His hope, though, is that he can hold on and that enough voters turned out during the day today to put him over the finish line. Remember, some of those same-day votes tend to skew Republican. Let's listen to what he told us earlier today.
We had historic turnout during the early voting period. But we should not rest on our laurels. The job is not done. The truth is, my opponent could still win this election. He could. There is a path. More of our voters tend to vote during the early period. And more of his voters tend to vote on election day.
So So his message has really just been turn out, turn out, turn out. Make sure you turn out to the polls. He even joked last night at his final event before Election Day that you should even call your ex and make sure that they're voting. His goal really is to just make sure the most voters turn out. Remember that he was in the lead on election night back in the general election. His hope is that he can get that same coalition of voters out to the polls today.
Call your girlfriend. I think Robin said it best. Yes. And now Raphael Warnock. Hey, Mara, is there talk of reformatting Georgia's election system to avoid these, what has become double election cycles? I heard it being floated, these instant runoffs, essentially ranked choice voting.
Yeah, it's a lot of, I think, voter fatigue here, because here in Georgia, I live here, it seems like we're always being, it's always time to vote for something. So the reason we're even here today, again, is because no candidate garnered 50% of the vote, of course, last month. And this is really interesting. So 10 states use runoff in primary elections, but it's actually only Georgia and Louisiana are the only two that do so in general elections. So when we talk about the idea of getting rid of a runoff, that is something that has definitely been tossed around. It's also something I asked officials with the Georgia Secretary of State's office earlier today. Take a listen to what they had to say.
I think there will probably be a debate amongst some people. It's up to the legislature. And, we don't know. I mean, we could go back to the old 45% that was in existence in the early 90s, maybe an instant runoff, because I know there's been a lot of worries about some of these lines. And we have paper ballots now. The system's a little bit different. We've had four-week runoffs for many, many years. Secretary Raffensperger was elected in a 4-week runoff just 4 years ago. So this is not unheard of, but every election we learn new things and want to find the things to make it best for the voter and for everybody in Georgia as we move forward.
Make it best for the voters. So again, Chance, some voter fatigue here in Georgia. Georgia voting rights advocates have also kind of just been explaining to people over the past month, you just voted. Why do you have to come out here again? So it will really be interesting to see how this elections process changes going forward.
Maura Sirianni, Nathaniel Reed, Haley Bull covering the campaigns and the vote counters for us tonight. We'll talk to you soon.